Hey friends, welcome back to the table, a church planting journey. My name is Trevor and I'm joined again with my good friend Ryan. We're back on Zoom just because it's easier. when we look at all the other things that we're doing, it is just easier to jump on Zoom, have a small meeting, and then podcast it up.
It's not like we live 5 minutes from each other or anything.
It is, I mean, we live so close, but like we want to try to do like the video thing for our YouTube. If
Yeah.
you're listening on any of the podcasts, you can jump on our website at thetablenaz.church/YouTube to watch any of these podcasts and see our beautiful faces.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude,
Faces made for radio.
that's amen. Amen. I'm tired because for the last 2 weekends now, you and I have been in yet another church planning class. What's up with you? How you been? You feeling it? Are you feeling tired from this experiment?
Yeah. No, I think we've been doing this class. It's called New Church Dynamics. It's more meant for churches after they've been planted for a couple of years to kind of assess where you're at as far as like health,
Yeah.
are people giving? Do you have a plan for discipleship? Do you have a plan for outreach? Do you have a plan to multiply?
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's a good thing for us, even though we haven't planted yet, because it's kind of like, oh, these are things that we need to think about as we move forward.
Yeah.
And these are
Absolutely.
goals that we need to maybe set for ourselves now,
Mm-hmm.
so that we don't get 3 or 4 years down the road and be like, oh, crap, we just totally missed the boat on,
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it's even as we're already reevaluating some of our ideas and thoughts. You know,
Yeah.
the class has been good. It's just
Yeah.
long, like 3 days, 4 or 5 hours each day for the last 2 weekends. I can't wait for it to be done tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's been, and then plus like just being at home is it's a different dynamic than like having to go and sit in the room. Like
Yeah.
I feel like if anything, like I'm more distracted here, obviously.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And
I literally did paperwork.
I also have to have like the thought in my brain of like make sure to put on pants. Like, I mean,
Just turn off your camera. It's fine. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. What else have you been up to? It's been, for our listeners, it's been like 2 weeks since we've kind of done this little recap. We kind of did a pre-recorded one we did a while back, and then we got an awesome connection with the Millennial Pastor Podcasting Network, and we reposted our episode there. And so it's been a
yeah.
bit. What's new with you?
Uh Man, personally, just missing my family still. It looks like I'm trying to get something where I can go out and see them at the end of March. So then like about a month from now. Um, it's getting down to the wire as far as finding work. So actually next month, so next week, I'm officially part-time at my church that I've been at for the last almost 4 years. And I'll be done at the end of May. So
Coming up.
been thinking about transitions and kind of I've been documenting things that I do on a regular basis and making plans to hand things off to other people. So, but yeah, I mean, other than that, just living the solo life at home with my dogs. Yeah. What about you, man?
Feel it. Yeah, I feel the job thing. So update. Thank you all for praying. And to my background investigator, thanks for listening. I appreciate you. She let us know that she's been following us. She's been watching the streams and listening to the podcast. So I appreciate it. Thank you. I can't wait to start working with you, because I can officially say I was offered a job this last Wednesday. I passed some of my tests. I've got 2 more big tests coming up. I'm not worried about them though. That drug test, I don't even know what drugs are in the world right now. So like, if we're testing them, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I don't do drugs, so I'm not worried about that one. And I have a psychological exam, and I had to do that to be ordained. And so I passed that. So I'm not worried about that either. Both, they'll be boom, we'll be in and done. And then by mid-March, I will be employed. That is the hope. with the offer
Yeah.
that I was given. So praise the Lord. Finally, that process has come. It's been a journey. I definitely, I'm at the point now of the unemployment where I'm bored. Um, and it's like not for not trying things, because I'm also trying to intentionally not always be thinking about the church plant and to, yeah, it just doesn't work sometimes. But other than that, I mean, the wife, she's healthy. She got her second shot, so she's feeling good. The kid is going crazy. He's learning more words every single day, it feels like. So we're getting past the no phase, and now it's kind of like he's trying to speak in tongues almost. So
Yeah,
it's a spiritual gift.
it's the language that only mom and dad understand.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, everything's been really good. We just had one of our big events that we've been building towards, our second come and see.
Yeah.
And we live streamed that, Ryan. It was kind of, we kind of worked hard together to get that done. And I was kind of behind the scenes on the the computer part, but then you were like behind the scenes, but also in front of the camera by like fixing the cameras that turned off like right at the beginning for whatever reason. How'd you think it went? What was your feelings towards it?
Yeah, I think it went really well. About as well as I think we could have hoped for, especially when you're in a smaller, intimate space. I preached for about 20 minutes, which it's one of those, like, I don't know. I was trying to kind of thread the line between like a sermon and kind of a presentation, because I kind of talked about our mission statement, something we talked about a couple episodes ago, and worked it into a sermon, which I think it went well. Like it wasn't, it just it wasn't a traditional, well, I don't do traditional 3-point sermons anyways, but it wasn't a traditional sermon in that it wasn't just kind of like read the text and talk about it, but I was kind of trying to bring it back to our mission statement.
Yeah.
And the point I was trying to make was basically a lot of churches have mission statements, but they never talk about them.
Mm.
And I want us to remember what our mission statement is, so that it's something that like is ingrained in us.
Yeah. These
Which
things that we remember, that we can, say back, that we're gathering at the table as a community of Christ to serve and to love. Yes, I'm reading that on the screen right next to me.
I was going to ask
I still don't have it memorized. I still don't.
Because I had challenged the group to try to memorize it.
I'm working. I'm getting there. It's only a sentence.
It's only literally one sentence, but yeah.
I know all the words. I just don't know where they go.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. Like I have, like, I'll say it 5 times and I'll say it 5 different ways, but like I'll bring in all the right ideas,
Yeah.
This idea of like community and gathering and serving and loving and Jesus, and yeah.
Yep, I feel you. Yeah, I thought the same thing. We literally just had that one hiccup with the camera for tech issues. During the stream.
Yeah.
Before the stream, we kept having the camera turned blue. Everybody was smurfing. It was ridiculous. Yeah. But we got that figured out. I don't know what in the world was going on.
I'm pretty sure it's your computer, so
I don't doubt that. I need a new, if somebody wants to buy me a new power supply and graphics card, I'm accepting those donations. But yeah, no, I thought you crushed it. Your sermon was great. I really appreciated it. Even though I was back here listening and making sure it was all running on our side well. I think the one area that wasn't as successful as both of us wanted, but it made sense, was the response and feedback time. Within our model, we want to create this ability to respond to what was preached, and I think there would have been a lot more response had it just been in person, no cameras. But because there was the cameras and people are like, I don't want to talk into the microphone. I don't want people to like think I'm some heretic or don't know my Bible enough,
Well, I mean, that it's just, you don't want to air your dirty laundry in front of strangers, right? Like, you don't want to.
All 10 of them. If you guys want to check that out, that was our second Come and See Live event. The first one was kind of like just a little highlight of it with a Q&A, and our second one we just did is a full service. So that's over on our YouTube, the tablenaz.church/YouTube, or you can head on over to our socials on Facebook, the Table Naz, and you can watch it there. It's pretty
Yeah,
good.
actually, I need to. Now that you mentioned that, I probably should put that up on our website, which is.
It'll get done eventually. We're busy, man.
Yeah.
We're busy. We got lots of things. So
Well, I was going for the segue. I was going for.
there's something that we're talking about tonight. You mean we're not just talking about our lives and what's been going on?
Yeah.
You're right. Tonight we are running into it is natural transitions. We'll just cut, edit, go, okay. And we're back. So we're going to discuss a little bit of our kind of understanding and ideas and what we did for creating a website, social medias, and how we're utilizing them within our church plant, and how we're kind of learning is with the house churches, it's a little different, but we're also learning some brand new things that, at least brand new to me, things that churches can do that just, it blew my mind. Like when you first told me about, we'll talk about the idea of the Facebook thing. But there's some really neat stuff. But if you haven't already been there, I know I plug it freaking every 3 or 4 times an episode. Check out the tablenaz.church, because Ryan here, he is a boss and he made this from the ground up, and it looks beautiful. It's engaging in my opinion. I jump on, I see our logo, I see some things right off the bat. Why don't I'm just going to share the screen real fast so that you all can check this out. And so Ryan, because you are the mastermind here, why don't you you tell me what to do. I'll be like the Vanna White of the show for a little bit.
Okay, well, first things first, like, yeah, there's some theory we should talk about. So we're part of a group, an organization called Church Marketing University. They CMU. They do a great deal for church planners. So if you're a church planner, send them an email. Hopefully they'll hook you up with the same deal. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't know if they're going to give the same deal to everybody, and I don't want people to feel guilty or whatever. I don't want to be on the bad end with them. But yeah, I've learned a lot of stuff from them. They have a lot of material, just about like launching, about, I mean, you name it, like Facebook ads, blogs, Google AdWords, like. They have a bunch of stuff about just how to get your word out about your church. And also I think they do a really good job of just kind of explaining like marketing and the church aren't like, that isn't like a dirty word. Like,
yeah,
the reason why you want to the reason why you want people to come to your church is you want people to know Jesus.
Yeah. And
if people don't know about your church, then how are they going to come and hear about Jesus?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
So the kind of the model I've gotten from them is that basically your website is the porch, and your social media is the windows. Mm-hmm. So nobody's going to come into your house. So if you have like a creepy house with like closed windows and like it's like rickety and like you don't want to like walk on the porch because there's like bad wood stuff that you're going to fall through or whatever, nobody's going to want to go into your house, right? And especially like these days where people Google everything before I Google stuff before, like I
restaurants, stores, dude. I literally, I'm the same way. I'm like, oh man, this sounds really good. For instance, there's a brand new restaurant that's just opened up in between you and I, on the corner. I looked at that thing on Google for probably 5 minutes to find the price of the food. It was not on there. I mean, I still went just because it sounded good and I wanted to support them in the middle of this COVID pandemic. I felt bad they were trying to, start a brand new restaurant in the middle of it. So I support them anyways, but like, they didn't tell me the price of the food. Like, just order online. And so eventually I got to like the Grubhub menu and I ordered to go so I could go pick it up.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting the price, but it bothered me that like this great huge building that just went up that's like packed
Yeah.
every single day. We took it to eat because it freaked me out that there were so many people eating
Yeah.
at that restaurant at one time in the middle of the pandemic still. It just bothered me. It was like, why is there not the prices when I click menu? It just said with the food, like,
Yeah.
your food looks great. I don't know. Am I spending $1 or $1 million? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that like it goes with like the church. Like you want people to know, to get an idea of what to expect. And so actually, yeah. So if Trevor's on our landing page, if you're listening, you could just go to the tablenavs.church and kind of see where we're at. But actually, can you scroll up again?
Yeah.
So right on the landing page, immediately we have our logo in the corner. It says "Welcome to the Table," and then it has a 1-sentence description of it. The Table is a house church network in Mesa, Arizona, with an emphasis on reaching out to the community, providing a place of authenticity, and experimenting with new ways to be the church. So that's just one sentence of it. Like if somebody, I don't know, Googled churches near me and they came on our website, they would be able to immediately see who we are, what we're about. And then up at the top, we have links to our social media. We have an about page. We have a page for our staff, our team, an opportunity to support us. We use support because a lot of churches just have a giving page. Because we're a new church plant, like supporting us is giving, it's prayer, and it's joining the team. So those are the 3 things that you'll find on that page. And then upcoming events in our blog page. And then there's a button right there that says join our team. You want there to be like an immediate call to action. The second, like somebody, I don't know if you've ever been to a website that like, you're like, kind of like that you can't find the prices, right? Where you go to a website, you're like, okay, what do you want me to do? Like, what is the reason for this page? And so, yeah, so the very first page, you get an immediately call to action, join the team. And it brings you to a page where it invites you to join our launch team. And there's a simple form that people can fill out. And it has a picture of our lovely faces on it.
Oh yeah. In the snow in the middle of Arizona, nevertheless.
Yeah. So go back to the homepage. But yeah, then if you scroll down, so there's a couple of things I want to point out. So first of all, there's a picture of the table, which that's on brand. And then we have a short description of what we are. The Table is a church plant that aims to launch in 2021. So if people are like, hey, where do I go on Sunday? Immediately we're launching in 2021. So we're not actually a church yet. And then we put in there something about our denomination, and we have a whole page about what is house church, and mission, vision, values, stuff like that. Then we have an image of the Superstition Mountains.
It's not that close, but Ryan and I, we both can look from our homes and see that. So it's just a little further away.
It's kind of a East Valley kind of thing with our key verse, John 13:34-35. A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another, which is basically gets at the heart of what Trevor and I want the table to be, just a place where people can come and feel loved and feel belonging. And then if you go down next section, there's just kind of not a collage. It's a
slideshow.
Slideshow, of pictures. And there's certain pictures. So there's a picture of Jeremy and Beth making food. There's a team picture. There's a picture of Rochelle at the park. Picture of Joel and Trevor playing instruments. Picture of
I noticed in the photos that you've chosen, Ryan, specifically, it seems to be there's a few shots of children, specifically our children, in there. but you had mentioned to me the importance of that. Why in the world does a church need a child on their website?
You need to have pictures of kids, because people are I guarantee you, especially if you're trying to attract families, one of the first things they're going to ask is, what do I do with my kids?
Mm.
And if you have pictures of kids on there, smiling, having fun, it communicates something without saying something, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is a place I can bring my kids, and they can feel safe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then I have a couple quotes about kind of our vision for what we want to be, put on their kingdom focus and kingdom dreams. I like the Walt Disney quote. All our
Yeah.
dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them.
Yeah.
This idea that we're trying to think outside the box, and thinking outside the box is difficult because a lot of it's like, oh, that idea will never work. But if we never try it, then
We'll never know.
you'll never know, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then I have a section that has, what is a house church, over a picture of a church, even though I know that's not what we're doing. We don't have a building. That's a picture of an old church out by the Superstitions.
Well, I love it because I think it's almost subliminal
Yeah,
of this idea of, like, when people are thinking church, like, inherently we think of this building, right?
yeah,
And so when it's house church, like, what is house church? You see the building and
yeah,
you're like, oh yeah, building. And so when you click to learn more, I think I'd love you bring up to that next photo of all these homes,
yeah.
and like, that looks a bit like SoCal to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, that's not Arizona for sure. That's a stock image.
A little too green.
Yeah. I've thought about like replacing that image a few times, but I just feel, I have a drone, so I could fly over people's houses and get this picture. I just feel creepy doing it.
So, that's a good picture. I like it. It looks,
Yeah,
the neighborhood's close. The houses are pretty.
yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, that just explores, and it shows what specifically the table is. I mean, again, I'll say it again. Ryan just crushed it out of the park with our website. It's something I'm really proud of. It's actually the home screen on my internet, on my phone. So it's kind of been my business card. Every time that I am talking about the table, I literally go up and I pull Chrome on my phone up, and boom, the last thing I'm on was the blog. And so I just show people based right off of my phone, like, here
yeah,
is the table, here is my church, here's what we're doing.
yeah. I just did that on Monday. Yeah, I ran into 3 college kids that I randomly went to the same small Christian college I went to, and they were talking about house church, and I struck up a conversation with them. It was pretty random. Uh, I'd have to say it was godly in some way, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's an easy way to kind of just show people who you are, what you are. I'd say for any church plant, you should have a website. I think that's like the bare minimum these days.
Oh yeah.
One of the things about house churches, though, is most house churches don't have websites.
Yeah.
Um, it's more of word of mouth, which is great. Um, but, and I think that's mostly just because of the fact that people want it to be small and intimate, which we want it to be small and intimate as well. But we want to launch a network,
Yeah.
not just a house church.
Yeah.
So
Yep. I think, yeah, there's a lot to, like you were saying, we actually have a kind of a hidden tab on our website that shows other models. But I mean, you and I spent
yeah.
days scouring the internet for house church models, and like, one of the big ones is, Francis Chan.
Yeah.
He's running a very successful large house church model. They're similar, in the network-esque style. But some of the things that we've been learning through CMU, through these DCPI trainings, and just other conversations with ministry leaders around our district and, the United States, is, when we create this website, how quick is your attention grabbed? You were kind of describing that everything that they need is on the very opening page of our website, from the welcome, what we are, about, team, etc.
Yeah.
because it really gives, people are looking within 5 to 10, maybe 15 seconds to see what is here to make me stay. There's so many websites out there, so many churches. What in the world is making people stay on your website? And then that next step is, once you've grabbed their attention in that short time, is then, are things accessible? And is there attention grabbing things for your future members? I think, again, you've done a great job, Ryan, designing this to where everything that they need is right here on the first page. And if they want more, all they have to do is scroll.
It's kind of the idea of like, from like newspapers, they used to have this idea of like what's above the fold on the front page. That's like the most important thing. And so,
Yeah.
you want your above the fold to be the top thing that everybody sees when they first come to your page.
For sure.
And so, and this kind of goes back to our earlier discussion with Joel, but like everything's kind of centered around like our logo, like all the colors are coordinated, the fonts are purposely designed. Basically, it's really easy to have a bad website.
Yeah.
Having a good website is actually really hard. It requires a lot of thinking, a lot of planning. And this isn't to like toot my own horn or anything like that. I've built a lot of websites, and I built a lot of church websites. And so this isn't my first rodeo, as they say. But this idea of like, you need to be purposeful with the information you share. You need to be purposeful with kind of what you're asking people to do, and also just make it look cohesive.
Yeah.
I I told Trevor this a while back. They were doing these website Wednesdays in the church marketing Facebook group, and they have these guys who, like, that's what they do. They build websites for churches. And I jumped in there one day. I was like, hey, can you take a look at my website? Let me know what you think. And one of the guys is like, this is what they do. He was like looking over. He's like, yeah, man, this is like a good website. I was like, cool. If like this guy thinks it's a good website, like,
yeah,
I'm like,
I feel good about it.
I feel a lot better about it. But yeah, it's just, and one of the things that I think that all churches need to be doing, especially, I don't know, it doesn't matter if you're launching, if you've launched, if you're established, if you're a church plant, but your website needs to be outward focused.
Yeah.
It needs to be, you need to be thinking as somebody who's new to the area, or maybe they've been invited by a friend, but they don't know what it means. I think this is especially true for like the house church. And like, if you invite somebody and they're asking me to like go over this random dude's house, I don't know him.
Yeah.
And if you say like, hey, we have a website, it adds some validity to the fact that you're inviting somebody over, and it's something to look at. But you need to think of it as like, what is somebody who might be Googling or looking on Yelp or something like that for a church? What are they thinking? Which is really hard to do, especially if you've been raised in the church or you're in ministry like you and I. There's still sometimes where like I'll use a word on the website, and then I'll look at it again a week or two later, and I'm like, why did I use that word? That's like a super churchy,
Right.
And so, you need to be mindful. Like, don't use like big theology words. Not to say that you can't talk about like ecclesiology or eschatology or Christology or I don't know, any of the ologies. You can't talk about that stuff in your church, but people shouldn't need a dictionary to like figure out what your website's trying to tell them, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it needs to be accessible right then and there, and they need to understand. And think about it as part of your mission field. This is one of the first touches that people will have to your church, and if they can't read it, why would they come, right?
Yeah.
So that you had brought up Yelp, and so like kind of some of these other areas that I don't know what would be the most important if I had to rank them myself, but website and socials and how you're activated on the social medias. We've said it before, we'll reiterate it again. It's important that you have very similar social medias across the board. Like we said, we've tried our best to develop the Table Naz as our tag. And as you can see here on Facebook, we're at the Table Naz, Twitter, the same, YouTube. Currently, we don't have that URL. So eventually it will be the youtube.com/the
We
Table
have to have
Naz. But for
100. I think we have to have 100 subscribers, which we're
91 away.
we're a little off from that. We haven't pushed the
Um,
YouTube as very much, but yeah.
Nah, we're not. Yeah, it'll be where media is found once we start creating more outside of the podcast.
Yeah.
Again, the only one that was goofed here is our Instagram because of I don't know why they didn't allow us, but literally there's not an account, the Table Naz, on Instagram. They just would not let us use that handle. So we just did the table.naz. It's close enough. If you just search on Instagram the table Naz, it'll bring it up. You just can't do the URL. And so we've have these other avenues of how people can connect: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. I mean, we've found the most success on Facebook, right, Ryan? That's probably what you'd say. I'll just kind of show us some numbers here on the screen. For those of you who are listening, this last 28 days, of January 29th through today, we're recording this on the 26th, we've reached 6,700 people, which is actually down from what we were previously reaching, with the caveat that we had paid for a lot of ads before in January. So that's part of the reason it's down. Again, like, these are things that I think a lot of churches have a Facebook account, right? They have their thing.
Yeah.
But what I think is really different about our Facebook specifically, and even just my past church's account, it was the announcement center. It's where we put up events that were coming up. It was where we talked about, here's what's new. And then eventually it became the live stream center. So it was events. Obviously COVID happened, there lack of events. So it was only where the live stream was found. And so the engagement was less than 2,000 people, in those 30 days, not because they weren't a big church, because they're way bigger than we are, like literally 200, 300% larger than us.
Yeah.
Or no, it'd be even more, like 2,000% larger than us. 2,000%. But then, so why, and Ryan, you've kind of been the all-star here. Even though I have some knowledge in social media, I've definitely been lacking there. Yeah. But what have you kind of learned and done with our Facebook to get it up to this? We're pushing nearly 7,000 people seeing our page, and this is not you and I seeing it 100 times. Like, this is unique people,
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that we stay engaged. I didn't post on Monday or Wednesday, I think. But other than that, like, I schedule out the posts every week. I try to make them engaging in some ways, and sometimes they'll catch on and sometimes they won't. It's kind of a mixed bag of, so like I did one yesterday. Tell us where you were born using only GIFs, and we got a lot of comments on that one. And then I post every day. Sometimes I'll post like a Twitter quote. Those will usually do pretty good.
Yeah.
That one from Pope Francis didn't do very well, but I've posted ones in the past where we've gotten 400 or 500 organic reach.
Yep.
Which, from what I understand, like, basically, if you're getting 10% of the people who like or follow your page, like, organically, like, you're doing well.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we do better than that for most of our posts. And I think that it has to do with the fact that we post regularly, we engage in, and if people are commenting, people are liking, people are sharing, we engage with them. Like, if you go back, actually, if you scroll up to today's posts, keep going. We had so if you look at the comments, we only got 87 reached, but I basically did, what are your weekend plans? And I put in there, show us it using emojis. But yeah, Mike, he responded. He put a picture of like, what are those called? Where they look like you? They're
Yeah, the Animoji. I don't even
the
know.
animal. Yeah,
I
where like
don't
it
I don't
looks kind of
have
like
one.
you. He kind of
Yeah.
put a thing like where he's like flipping stir fry in the air or whatever. And I replied with like, who are you inviting over? Like, you need to have a conversation. This is actually one of the
Yeah.
things that I've learned a lot over in the last couple of weeks is like, if you're just looking for a one-way conversation, like Facebook, like they will not reward you. You need to engage and ask questions. If people respond, then you respond back. Um, Getting your team to like and share your stuff is really important.
Yeah,
Um,
especially the shares,
yeah,
because again, that 10% is, it might be a little high from what it used to be, but that was what it was. Every time you shared, 10% of your friends would see, and so if you wanted, like here's our come and see event, we have 8 shares from our team to share that event, and 583 people saw that. We didn't spend a dime of marketing on that post,
no,
and got 600 people. Reached with 122 engagements of likes, comments,
yeah,
shares, etc.
yeah. So
Which leads me that,
being consistent is probably the biggest thing. Of
yeah,
and then also responding, and yeah, that's. I'm trying to think of. We've had a couple posts in the last month where we've reached a decent amount of people. That one, that the come and see one was one of them.
yeah,
Um, but I feel like there's just been a couple just like, yeah, like I'll share a quote or something like that, and we'll get a lot of people engaging.
yeah.
Um, you and I have done a lot of like selfie videos, just kind of telling people or going live on the page. Those are,
Which that's interesting. I mean, that's a thought. Um, is it better to go live or just post a video?
I think it's better to go live. I don't have any data to point to that, but I know for a while, like when Facebook first rolled out live, like if anybody went live, it would tell you, and that was super
Yeah.
obnoxious. So I'm glad they kind
It
of
still
toned
it
it
still
down.
somewhat does that though.
Yeah,
Whereas if you just post a video, it's not going to remind you or send you a notification that there's a video posted. It'll just be another item on your feed where, if you're following, especially if you have people who have or have like followed with notifications, which is a
yeah,
thing that people can do. They can go through their follow settings and change if it's just defaulted, smoothed, or off, or if it's in their favorites. They'll get notifications when
yeah,
you post, and that's something I have to do in their own feed. Um, but yeah, I still think that there is that, you go live and Facebook reminds you, especially if you have a page that you liked. I see it quite often,
yeah.
especially from, I feel like, more of my heavy Facebook friend users,
Uh,
people who are on Facebook more often that go live more often. I definitely see theirs. Um, I was talking or going to bring up the ads that you can run on
mhm.
Facebook, and so, we've found some success in that, and that is a whole nother discussion that Ryan and I are definitely not qualified, I would say, to, we have ideas and we figured out how we're going to present and do our ads, but
Yeah,
there's a science behind
yeah,
running ads and who you target.
yeah,
I mean, that is why people go to school for marketing, to
yeah,
figure out how and where to run ads. But even so, we ran a short, um, I mean, what was that? Maybe 2-day post,
yeah. It was like
from our
20 bucks
come
for
and
the two
see.
days.
Yeah, we spent. Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect example. So if you're listening, you're watching, you're thinking, okay, I've never ran a Facebook ad. Just give me some numbers here. So we
Yeah,
spent $20 on an ad for 2 days,
yeah,
right?
2 days.
10 bucks a day, and we had some of our core members share it. We reached 3,400 people.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
actually, no. Oh yeah, so 3,400. So I was like 3.4 thousand. Yeah, sorry. But the number that I'm looking at is through plays. We had 626 people watch your video all the way through,
yeah,
which
that's
is
huge.
nuts.
Yep, that 3,400 number is people that were able to see the post and but probably saw at least 3 seconds of it.
Yeah,
They maybe they just read the text, but That's huge.
Yeah.
626 people watched from start to finish this 2.5 minute, 3 minute long video. 3 minutes? Are you kidding me? Who wants to listen to me for 3 minutes? Obviously, 626 people did.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's one of the things that like it's an easy thing to do. I think I don't think I targeted that one. I think it was like within 5 miles. I think I just did geography. I didn't do any other kind of targeting. I didn't get too complicated with it. Um, but yeah, it's a pretty powerful thing. Like the way that I see it, like I'm actually learning how to like run Facebook ads right now, as I'm kind of trying to start a side business. Um,
so you actually might be the expert. So I take back my comment.
yeah,
I'm not an expert,
no, I'm like
but Ryan might be.
I'm at the very beginning of my learning process, so I wouldn't call myself an expert either. Um, but yeah, like basically, Facebook is the new town square. Like it's the way where you can reach the most amount of people. Um, we still do physical stuff. So we like I have an invite card or we have a door hanger. Um, and we still have physical stuff. We're gonna do t-shirts, we're gonna do stickers. But the way that you have to think about I think this episode that started off like about website and social media has like kind of gone more just to marketing. Like you have to think about like people have to encounter your brand so many times before they'll actually engage in it.
Yeah.
So I think the number so I took a marketing class in college, which I went to college way before you even. And I think that back then the numbers was like 13 to 15 times people have to encounter your brand before they'll engage it. And I'm sure it's more now.
Oh, yeah.
We are surrounded by so much marketing these days. I'm
Yep.
sure it's probably like 25 or more.
Yeah, for sure. For
And so
sure.
you have to think about these things as okay, maybe yeah, we had 626 people through play, but we didn't have that many people watch our live stream. But it's like you have to remember like it's just like it's kind of like you're stacking things on top of each other. Like get to the point of by the time we launch, we've so inundated the market with who we are and what we're doing that people will want to come check us out.
Yeah, for sure. So not to go too much further into the marketing side, we also utilize Facebook with our groups,
Yeah.
which have been a totally awesome part of Facebook where we're able to connect with people. What I'm showing you now is our launch team group. And so this is kind of where we're inviting more and more people to join us. And we talk about what's coming up, our announcements, have, just discussion. Ryan and I have posted some blogs about small groups, starting a church, etc., and just a more intimate way to have these discussions with people who are interested in watching, maybe just watching what happens with your church plant. We have a few people on there who they're just there to pray and to just to see what happens with the table.
Yeah.
But this might be their connection point. Like you're saying, I love that idea. Like Facebook is the town square,
Yeah.
where people in the past they would go to a physical place to hang out, to hear the news, to hear the town crier back in the medieval days.
The
Uh,
pub.
yeah, yes. Well, speaking of town criers, the Henderson Silver Knights, who are the is NHL reference sports. If you guys want to tune out for a couple seconds, they're the minor league team for the Vegas Golden Knights. They have a town crier who calls out all of their goals because they're night themed. It's ridiculous. KNIG. Yeah. Not night as in the
That's
nighttime. But
sports ball talk, everybody.
sports ball talk. But we have these groups, this core team, launch team, and eventually we hope to kind of build out some of these groups to each of the home churches and these places that people can connect, see what's going on within their communities. And at the end of it, it all brings you back to this group is a part of the table. It's all same. It's all the same branding. It brings you. I don't know how to use a group that well, obviously, because I don't know where to go. But
there's I know there's a button. I don't
right there. It's literally at the top of the page. Brings you right back to our page. Facebook is very versatile. In those groups is a thing called Facebook Rooms. Everybody's on Zoom nowadays, but it's also not free. At least for people who want to meet for longer than 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Facebook provides like a rooms Zoom service over Facebook. All you got to do is have an account and join a group, and you can host a Zoom-esque event. It
A
cracks me
Zoom,
up. There you
it's
go.
not as
Yeah,
good as Zoom, but
definitely not.
it's
But
uh, it's yeah, on a budget,
yeah, Zoom on a budget. I love that.
it's definitely worth it.
Some of our other socials of kind of, oh, I can move that. Cool. Perfect. Some of our other socials. So we have a Twitter. We're not great. We're not great on Twitter.
Yeah.
We're figuring it out. I mean, we went and we followed a bunch of people on there. Twitter is different. It is a lot different than Facebook. Honestly, some of our Twitter has just become this place of reposts and
Yeah.
information, which that is not how you should use your Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter, yeah, basically if you're not tweeting multiple times a day, it's hard to get much traction on Twitter.
Yeah. But one of the things I think that we'll be able to utilize our Twitter for later, because we're not meeting as often, we're not having services.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I'm excited about potentially starting to do is taking notes during our sermons, whether I'm preaching, you're preaching, or maybe some of our other potential house pastors that we were in conversation with will be preaching, and then tweeting some of their words, their powerful, their quotes, maybe asking members in the communities at the different house churches to, hey, just take a quick, just upright video. I know horizontal video is always the way to go, but just take a quick vertical video for me and send it over, airdrop it to me of your house church. And I think I want to start utilizing our Twitter more that way once we're in soft launch mode. Because right now it's like posting just about what we're doing is not the best way to engage. It is posting, talking, but it's also, we're the table. It's not, I don't want Trevor to come through and my personal thoughts and opinions about things. You always hear about that business person who in their bio is like, my thoughts are my own. I don't represent Wendy's. Yeah. Except for that's actually Wendy's. Wendy's is one of the best Twitter accounts is best.
Fire.
Absolutely.
Wendy's has like seriously like the best Twitter account out there.
Yeah, if you got a Twitter, go follow Wendy's. They like to roast people. It's hilarious. I think probably our next best. So I would say Facebook is our best social. Our next best is Instagram, which is a product of Facebook. If you didn't know that, Facebook owns Instagram. Which there's actually this really great thing called the business suite from Facebook. And what you can do is you can program all of your posts for both Facebook and Instagram together. Again, this doesn't go to other social medias like YouTube or Twitter or whatever, but
I think this is one of the things that we need to improve on, is because right now we're just kind of cross posting.
Yeah, there's a lot of cross posting going on, but I will say our Instagram has way better engagement than our Twitter does, mainly because one, it's posts coming out every day, but I'll click to the post that you sent today, the emoji one. It didn't get a lot of traction on Facebook because maybe I don't, I'm on my desktop or my laptop. I don't want to post emojis.
Yeah.
Everyone is on their phones for Instagram. And so you have to think about these things when you're posting.
Yeah.
Posting on Instagram, who's going to be looking at it? People on their phones. Where are they going to be watching it? On the break, at lunch, during these moments that it's kind of just mindless. And so look at this, like we've got way more emoji responses on this. What is your weekend plans? Because of what Instagram is. It's a photo life sharing experience. And one thing that we'll get to in these points of when we begin to meet in person is to share and show off our events with people, with families and children, and to get those faces of smiling people enjoying life together.
No, that's actually, I still need to go through we have some photos from this last week, and I still need to, it's on my to-do list to go through and edit some of those and put them up. It's been on the back burner, unfortunately. We have, I mean, there's been a few times where we've posted specifically to Instagram. I think where we need to start getting better is like at using stories. I'm I'm not a stories person. Not to say that like I that comes off as me being lazy, which it probably is, but I just didn't grow up like with the internet as like ubiquitous in my life that like I feel the need to like share about what I'm doing all day or a day.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel
But
that.
um I could probably work a little harder at it, but
Yeah. One of the things I'm considering, and it's actually something I did in my last ministry position, was I found that person who loved social media,
yeah.
and I spoke with them about what I expected, and then I gave them the reins,
Yeah.
which for a high school youth group wasn't bad because they were high schoolers, and the person I gave it to had enough integrity to post appropriate things. Now, there's a few teenage boys that I would never have given the account information
Yeah.
to because they're a little wild, but it might be something that we find that person. Again, there's no age or gender here that I'm speaking to, but we find that person who that is what they want to do. At the end of the day, social media is becoming a ministry. It already is a ministry, and
Yeah.
it's how we as the church embrace it. Um, Instead of looking for that person, well, we do need people to run and to help in our children's. Now we also need people to help and run our socials and our platforms,
Yeah.
where we could spend all day uh, on our social media platforms, Ryan. Like you and I could
Yeah.
waste so much time. Again, we could think we're being productive and we're
Yeah.
posting all these great things. Like let's share on the stories everything we're doing all day long. Well,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you look at your screen time, pushing 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And how many? That's like I think that's mine probably. Well, mine's probably a little lower today since we had that class, but.
Yeah, actually like now that like we're like talking about it, like I'm thinking like this is probably something we need to give away sooner rather than later.
I agree. I agree.
Because I
See,
think you and I both,
peek behind the curtain here.
I think you and I both enjoy it, and like we want it to be good. I think that's the thing is like, and I think we realize how important it is to launching, like kind of getting the word out.
Yeah. But
Uh,
once we hit that soft launch, especially that hard launch, like
yeah,
we got to get pretty hands off to where when we're posting, it's just those selfie videos. It's just
yeah,
those stories that we're sharing of, we have access, but when we can find that person that we trust to where that is their ministry is to
yeah,
utilize and to act. And again, like people pay $70,000 a year to do this. I applied for a job here in Arizona to be a social media manager that was going to pay me $70,000 starting. Like this is a job, but
yeah,
there was so much there, and like I understand why they didn't hire me. That is not my specialty. I've done social media. I took a class for that
yeah,
once in 2012.
yeah.
But yeah, one of our other social medias that we have, we'll just keep rolling here, is our YouTube. Like we said, you need 100 subscribers to have that custom URL. So if you want to support us and just drop a little, sub there,
That'd be nice.
greatly appreciated. Currently, the majority of our videos here have been our podcast video episodes, but we also have kind of like a trailer that we created. We did our first come and see, which is about an hour long. I actually reposted just the come and see first part, so not the Q&A, but just the come and see
Mhm.
as well. And then our most recent come and see live is also uploaded. I said that I was going to edit out the beginning part, and I still haven't. To-do lists, they're there for a reason. We'll get
It's
to them
really,
eventually.
it's actually pretty easy to do it in
Yeah,
YouTube.
I was just going to use it on. I didn't want to do it
I
in my
discovered that the
editor.
other day, and I was like, oh man,
Saving a lot of time.
I've been doing things wrong this whole time.
Absolutely. And so one of the other things that we are experimenting with, we haven't really touched into just yet, but as we are getting ready to launch, especially for this upcoming event, which we'll talk about here in a sec, is next door.
Yeah.
So specifically for us, we are planting a house church network. And so one of the greatest resources and tools that I think gets so underlooked for churches, specifically house churches, is this app called Nextdoor. It's a website, it's an app, social media that literally is for you and your neighbors. Like, I am not friends with any of these people necessarily. I don't add them. We don't get to see their photos of their kids unless they want to be posting that all the time. But it's this great place where people specific, and this is specifically my neighborhood. I can click to the home and I can get kind of like a 5 mile or so radius of where I live, something more general, but specifically my neighborhood is found here. And people talk about, hey, I'm looking to tutor and to help people. Someone's asking about, their gate boards needing to be replaced or their garage door not working. I posted on here about, I think my water heater exploded back in 2017, 18. And, I was like, I need a plumber to come out, and got some information through here. It's this place that already the people in the neighborhood are being neighbors. I'm pretty sure like neighborhoods like thing is to like help make people better neighbors or something like that. Like their slogan.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're more like, it's like, as opposed to like Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, those are more like connecting people like through like interests and ideas. Nextdoor is literally like, no, like this is my geography. Like this is like,
Yep.
this is literally where I live.
Yep.
And I've experimented with that Nextdoor. I feel like I'm capable of like handling 3 social medias at a time. So I mostly do Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, I think Nextdoor is actually a tool that we could really use and
Yeah,
probably get some pretty good return on.
I agree.
I know
I
that
totally
I
agree.
know that they do ads. I know that they do. You can specifically target neighborhoods, which in Facebook you can't target you can't get down that low. You can do like area codes,
Yeah.
not area codes, zip codes. Um, yeah, if you did the whole area code, that would be a lot of people. But you can do
Yeah.
zip code, which is still pretty big. I mean, you and I live in the same zip code, and we
Yep.
live like on opposite ends. But
Yeah. On the very opposite ends of the zip.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it's like one of those things like where you could do it. You could target things a little bit more purposeful, which I think is actually a pretty good kind of segue to kind of talk through what we have coming up, and kind of we can maybe touch bases on some of the struggles we've had recently.
Yeah. Well, we might potentially, this might be the first time we use Nextdoor
Yeah.
for our event, because we are ramping up to really our first big outreach event. And I should do that again. Our first big outreach event.
That was
That's air
quotes.
quotes
Air
for
quotes.
the listeners. So Ryan and I, when we initially started to plant the table, we drew up our ministry plan and we came up with all of these ideas. We literally planned from January to August, right? Like every single Sunday. And in that was monthly outreach events. And we were like, boom, park event, kickball. Like we were thinking huge,
Yeah.
like huge events that we would hope hundreds of people would connect with.
Yeah.
Um, and then COVID happened. I mean, we were kind of already planning that in the middle of COVID, hoping that COVID would be more done by the time we started to do these events.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's still a big thing, and we're still working through it. And so when I started calling Mesa City, I was asking about, hey, we want to host an event at the park that's going to be free. It's going to be advertised on the internet, and we're going to provide food. And the lady goes, cool. You can have 32 people. I
Yeah.
said, like per what? She's like, well, it's, the Ramada with the size, it's 32 people. So I was like, well, if I rent all of the Ramadas, is it 32 per Ramada? She's like, it's 32 people,
Yeah.
maybe 50 at that point. I said, okay. She goes, so I also need your insurance, which luckily because of our denomination we have. So we had the insurance.
Yeah.
And then she's like, kind of that final question. And it was like, she wants to work with us, but the pandemic is making it hard.
Yeah.
That final question was, how can you guarantee that you're not going to have more than 53 or 32 people at your event? And the room went quiet.
Yeah.
because I couldn't.
Yeah.
Especially with Facebook marketing, especially with trying to do anything and get people there. I told her, I said, maybe we create a sign up and we ask people to sign up for an hour slot, and we only have 32 people at a time per hour. And she goes, that's not a bad idea. How can you guarantee that?
Yeah.
And we couldn't.
Yeah.
So we took that and we tried to shrink it down. And so I
Yeah.
contacted my neighborhood's park, which is a smaller. Where I live in a gated neighborhood. The gates provide false sense of security, that's for sure. Uh, but I connected with our HOA pres and was like, hey, I want to do an event in the neighborhood. What does it look like? I'm talking to you first because I don't want to be the guy who's asking for forgiveness.
Yeah.
I want to do this right. I want to work with you. I don't want to ever be in opposition of you. I want to be friends. And he goes, I appreciate you asking me because you can't. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
get it. And he goes, we're having this discussion because there was a great couple in our neighborhood who hosts this Christmas event every year. It's Christmas Pictures with Santa. And it was mad this year. Like 50 plus people each day showed up to take pictures with Santa, and
Yeah.
not just people from the neighborhood, like other people from other neighborhoods had heard about it. We're driving in, we're getting into the community, using other people's gate codes,
Yeah.
and we're still in a pandemic, and people were freaking out. Like
Yeah.
he said that he had 20 people call that next Monday about, there's way too many people. I was too afraid to walk my dog because I didn't know who
Yeah.
these people were.
Yeah.
And not in fear that they were going to jump them or whatever, but
Yeah.
because they're in a pandemic and they didn't know what they were carrying, who they were around.
Yeah.
And he's like, if that event didn't happen, this would be a different conversation. But
Yeah.
we have to totally rethink everything because we can't have outsiders. And we can argue on that all day long if we
Yeah.
wanted to, but the point was we couldn't have outsiders from the community coming in to host some big event. And I get it. And so we've had to totally rethink what outreach looks like in the pandemic. And then it hit me after those two discussions. We're planting a house church.
Yeah.
I cannot fit more than 20 to 30 people in my house.
Yeah.
What were we thinking trying to get 500 people to show up at the park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's I think we're in this funny area of where we're reading, we're listening, we're thinking about what does it look like to plant a church. We're doing trainings on it, and all like we're kind of doing this hybrid model in that we're house churches, but we're not. We're traditional, but we're different. We're vanilla, but we're also chocolate.
With a little bit of strawberry in that middle right there.
Yeah.
Neapolitan.
So all the like traditional outreach ideas are like, yeah, big events, get as many people there as possible, bounce houses, free food, giveaways. And that was just like our thinking along the way. But yeah, like I think we need to really, and then I think we kind of got off track because originally we were talking about being neighborhood specific and everything like that. But I think you and I have kind of gotten into this kind of traditional view of like your church is as successful as how many people you get to show up.
Yeah.
Whereas that wasn't our original vision. Our original vision was how can we draw people closer to Jesus and not be confined to just how many
The
butts
building.
are,
Right.
and so we're kind of coming back to that. We're kind of coming back to this idea of like we want our outreach. We want to do like social media. We want people to know who we are. We're not like, not that I have anything against like more traditional house churches where it's mostly just word of mouth, like people don't advertise or anything like that, because I'm not against that. I think that's great. But we're kind of doing this hybrid of like we're traditional, but we're not, and we're still within a denomination, and that's the other thing. It's like most house churches are kind of outside denominations.
Yeah.
People start house churches because they get mad at denominations, which I completely understand why. But yeah, like we're still trying to kind of play within this sandbox of Nazarenedom. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I think we kind of got ahead of our skis a little bit,
Yeah.
and so we're planning on doing something. We're planning on doing an outreach in 2 weeks at your house, but it's not going to be the thing that we originally were
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. We were thinking bounce houses, free food, like,
Music,
yeah, corn dogs and tater tots, like
yeah.
get some good old fried food in there.
We
Yeah.
talked about giving
Music.
away a PS5 at one point. I'm really glad we didn't do
Um, yeah. I'm not paying $1,000 for one of those things right now. They're still
that.
so overpriced.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's actually launch team. If you're listening to this, we're telling you this Sunday, I promise.
Yeah.
But we're doing a barbecue.
Yeah.
We're gonna hang out in my front yard, and hopefully I'm gonna talk to my neighbor Emma and see, hey Emma, you want to join us and kind of do like a little co-hosting where our neighbor or we're just like right there. The yard kind of like goes into her driveway because my son kicks rocks there all the time. But just hanging out, gathering together, and just grilling some burgers and dogs, talking, hanging out, having some diet soda maybe. I haven't drank like soda in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe just water. My wife is listening. I'll just drink water. But just hanging out and just sharing, life, sharing the vision of the church, and showing people that, hey, in your neighborhood, in walking distance from your home, there's going to be this beacon of light in your community, this church that believes that you are valued exactly how you are, that Jesus loves you exactly how you are. He died for you right now in the person that you are. You don't need to dress up. You don't need to act a certain way. You don't need to change your language or change your lifestyle to join me in my front yard for a hot dog. You don't need to do any of that to come to my home and to feel loved. You don't need to do any of that. And, it's as I am kind of stepping back and looking at, the grand scheme of the table, that's what every event's going to be to start.
Yeah.
When we're going to launch a house into a network, it's just going to be this first one is, hey, we're here. We love you. This is a safe place. But you had brought up this really cool idea of, it's not just going to be that one thing and then we're done, but we're gonna evolve.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to do outreach. So what does that second outreach event kind of look like, or what are we dreaming about for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to give away any details because we haven't finalized anything, but the idea is that the first month, and we're thinking of this as kind of like a plan for every time we launch a house church, like we kind of do it in stages.
Yeah.
But the first month is like, barbecue, come, like free food, come get to know us, maybe do some kind of giveaway, like a gift card or something like that. Really easy. And then the next month is, okay, we came, like we invited people. Some people showed up, some people didn't. We're going to serve this neighborhood in some way. And so that's actually going to be one of the things we're going to talk about this weekend at our launch team meeting is like, we need to be thinking about ways, like concrete ways that we can serve these people. One of the things that's like awesome and also annoying about your neighborhood, your nice groomed neighborhood, is like we can't go around being like telling people we'll pick up their yard for them because the HOA stays on that pretty good.
Oh yeah, no, trust me, you'll get fined before we get there.
And so like that was like one of the things I was like, oh yeah, we can go like offer to pick up people's yards. It's like, oh well, that doesn't really work here.
Well, one of the things, it might be a little bit too intimate for some people.
Yeah.
But obviously the front yards are well kept. But I can promise you the backyards aren't, because mine. Because my backyard.
I can get my drone. We can scout some.
Yeah, we could go scout. That would be so bad. That would be so bad. If you're listening to this, neighbors, we're not gonna do that, I promise. But I was literally just thinking today, as I was my wife and kid had gone down to the park a little early, and I had to finish up a couple emails, and then I joined them. But as I was walking, constantly now I'm always walking around my neighborhood in prayer, asking God to reveal to me what needs to happen, who I need to do. it might be advantageous to get to know my neighbors, like to do what Jesus says, to love my neighbor as myself. But and when I say that, not because I'm trying to be facetious, but this idea of, I know that a neighbor who lives just catty corner to me um, doesn't get out.
Yeah.
They're um, a high risk for sickness, and so their son actually comes to the neighborhood and drops some stuff out, checks on them. They're a little older.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do as a good neighbor, that they're probably not going to join us at the barbecue? They're probably not going to join us at any house church events anytime soon.
Yeah.
At least till probably every person in the neighborhood is vaccinated.
Yeah.
But what can I go do to make sure that they're okay, that they're loved? It might mean, hey, my outreach for my neighborhood this month will be to find every single person that needs me to go buy their groceries this month. Maybe not me buy them personally, but
Yeah.
to go take care of that burden for them. Not have to pay DoorDash to get my groceries. That I'll just use. You buy them, I'll pick them up for you. It might be me going and buying somebody's groceries.
Yeah.
We find that family who, they've got the 2 cars, they've got the nice house, but dad's been out of work for 6 months and they're struggling to make mortgage and the kids aren't eating.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. You could walk around this neighborhood and that might be the reality for someone right now, but you would
Yeah.
never know that. And so,
Figure it out. Yeah, living in the suburbs, you don't always know what's going on behind the garage door when people drive in.
yeah, absolutely.
We used to live in a pretty rough neighborhood. It was the hood, and we knew the guy that lived like down the street was like the biggest drug dealer in town. Like, it was well known. It wasn't a secret. There's something more comforting about knowing that than like living in like a small little well-kept suburban neighborhood where you like don't know what people do. you
Yeah.
know like
Yeah.
like I had conversations with that guy. He was nice. like
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I condone drug dealing. I definitely don't, but it's just like there's something like about the fact that like you like in like kind of like the more urban, rougher sides of town, like, okay, I know who this person is. Like, they don't hide it.
Yeah.
Whereas
So often we hide. We don't want our neighbors to know who we are because maybe
yeah.
we're ashamed of that. I just learned the other day. I'll just flip on the other side of the coin. I learned the other day one of my neighbors is a DEA agent. So exact
Nice.
opposite of that. Yeah. So we're managing. We're trying to figure this out in the midst of COVID 2020, 2021. And specifically, we are planting a house church network. And that looks totally different than planting a typical traditional church. And I think you're right, Ryan. You and I, we kind of lost focus for a little bit of because initially we're talking about this back in 2019 and early 2020.
Yeah.
And we were all on the same page of think small, our best, be good neighbors and all this. And then it got to practically thinking about what this looked like and what it was. And we've had to take that step back and realize that my house will never be as big as my last church.
Yeah.
Because it's a house, not a church building. It's not this place where people come, but it is literally what I can do for the neighbors that surround me.
Yeah. Which is why I want to have more house church pastors and hosts.
That's right.
This is
across the whole valley.
Our regular call for if people are interested. On the small chance that you live near us, we'd love to have you join us. But yeah, we need people to come and join the team. That's been my prayer lately. We can't talk about. We've had people express interest, which is nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
But unfortunately,
pray with us.
The pay is not good.
Nada. I feel it.
0.
Well, before we go any too further, I do want to keep up our kind of theme that we started in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
How you been, Ryan? What can we be praying for you about before we kind of wrap it up here?
Yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm going part time. I'm still kind of in the job hunting mode right now. I'm trying to I got this idea to start a business running Facebook ads for people. So I've been actually doing some like one-on-one coaching with a pastor who started a Facebook ads business and was really successful at it, and basically made me think, hey, I can do that. Uh, and then also I'm trying to get a job, if anything, like, guaranteed income is better than none. And then also, yeah, just keep praying for my father-in-law who still, is suffering from cancer, and my wife and kids are out there so they can see him on a regular basis and be with him as much as possible. And like I said, I'm going to try to go out there at the end of next month. So just pray that all that goes well. So
For sure. For sure. Um, Thank you for your prayers, everyone. I really do believe that God has been involved throughout this whole process. I do hope to be a Gilbert police dispatcher by March 22nd, which happens to be my birthday. Like,
yeah,
I don't believe in coincidences, friends. I really don't. And so when my my future new supervisor told me that my start date would be March 22nd, I just laughed. I said, that's my birthday. What a great day. Like, what a present to
yeah.
have gone from unemployment for, at that point, nearly 3 months to having a job on my birthday. It's
Normally people don't want
I'm
to
thank
work on their birthday, but that's
I am down to work. Give me that 10-hour shift.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but outside of that, I think you know, things are getting better across the board. Knowing that there's an end to this kind of madness of unemployment. Carson is growing up every single day. Rochelle and I had our first like real date in her eyes, even though I feel like I've taken her on lots of dates to the couch, Netflix, pint of ice cream. Um,
yeah,
we got to go on a date today, which is really great. But yeah, just keep praying that. I think my big prayer now is, now that I have a job, I need to be able to maintain that job and be excellent there and to be excellent at the table. And
yeah,
so that's where I'm ready. I believe that we're going to be able to do that. I know it's going to take some diligence on my part.
yeah. It's gonna be rough. Not I
Maybe at
don't
the
think that's
beginning,
necessarily a bad
I'll hit
thing.
the
Like,
flow.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be different.
Yep.
You've been used to kind of
Very flexible
yeah,
pastor hours,
yeah.
to say the least.
I forgot to ask you, like, are you gonna have to wear like a uniform? Like, what are
I
you
don't
gonna?
know. When I was there, it was all business cash,
Okay,
but I don't think anybody was wearing uniforms necessarily. I don't know. Maybe it was Wednesday, like Wednesday's business cash day. I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out. I don't really. I know that I'm starting. I haven't official like it's a conditional offer, so I
yeah,
have to pass these next two tests, of course,
yeah,
which I'm not worried about because I don't got anything to hide. I'm not a bad guy. I'm very straight
yeah.
edge, white middle class. But yeah, we'll see. Who knows? I'm okay. I'm cool. If I need to do that, I'll wear a polo every day if I have to. Cool
Yeah.
with me.
No, I mean, of all the, yeah, like that's not that bad.
Yeah. But thank you guys for joining us
Yeah,
tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon, whenever you're listening to this
I
or
thought
watching this.
I thought this was gonna be one of our shorter ones. This might be one of our longer ones now.
I agree. I was like, let's keep it 30 minutes, and we're definitely an hour in, I think. But as always, you can follow us at the Table Naz on any of our social medias. You can go to our website at thetablenaz.church/support if you'd like to get involved or just learn a little bit more about who we are. One of the cool things that you might not know is that we're on this app called Anchor, and Anchor is actually what we're using to podcast right now. It lets us publish on all the different places that you might be listening: Google, Spotify, Apple, etc. And we love it. And so if you have Anchor specifically, you can leave us a voice message, and we can listen to that in the next episode and respond to you directly.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing, Ryan, I just spat out a whole bunch of words. So why don't you tell us about the
Yeah.
new cool thing that we're a part
Yeah,
of?
we're now officially part of the Millennial Pastor Podcasting Network. and I got to look up
It's a mouthful.
the millennialpastor.com. And there's also a group on Facebook. It'd be a great chance for you to join in there. Just search for the Millennial Pastor. There's more than one Millennial Pastor, but I think the group's called the Millennial Pastor Podcasting Network. So search for all that. I know it's
a pretty big public group. Yeah. 256 people right now, it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find it on all the socials as well.
Yeah, we got
the Millennial Pastor and then Podcasting Network.
Yeah, so there's the OG, the Millennial Pastor podcast, which we featured us being on last week, from when we post this, and then there's the Pastor's Wife, which Trevor might want to say something about.
She's cute. My wife started a podcast initially to interview pastor spouses. She titled it The Pastor's Wife because that's what she is. So many people in the past couple of years have been like, oh, you're the pastor's wife. She's like, yep, I'm also a doctor, but yes, I'm the pastor's wife. So she started that to talk to pastors. Yeah, right. She took that to talk to pastor spouses initially, and now in season 2 is expanding that to lay leaders in the church.
Yeah. And then we got a new one, a plain account with Ben and Alicia. They're great people. They're great pastors. They go through the lectionary reading every week, and they kind of break it down and talk to you about kind of different approaches you can have for preaching the passage. And they have a whole website where they have people who write blog posts every day. It's pretty cool if you have a chance to check it out, especially if you're Nazarene Wesleyan persuasion. That's kind of the theme of their site as well. So yeah, and then I think there's 1 or 2 more cooking in the oven. But yeah, we're kind of doing a thing. Yeah. Like pretty soon we're going to be doing watch parties. We got plans.
Oh yeah.
We're going to do
some movies coming up. We're going to watch.
Yeah.
Yep. We good.
Yeah. So
yeah, we're actually, one of the cool things soon is we're actually going to host a kind of like a back and forth, maybe not Q&A, but like discussion.
Yeah.
Ryan and I are through the Millennial Pastor Network, based around house churches, church planting, and kind of just some.
Yeah, just more of just talk, just kind of.
It's gonna be a hangout,
bounce ideas off of each other. So
hear some stories.
Yeah, we'll try that out, and maybe we'll expand it and we'll invite some more people. But I want to see what happens before we invite too many people.
I feel you.
It's a pretty small, intimate group right now. So yeah,
for sure. We will also in the future be excited. Make sure that you turn on your notifications, like, subscribe, whatever. We're planning to have some guests on the podcast. So we're working towards developing some pretty neat relationships with some good friends across the nation who have some really, really good insights on some of their church plants. One of them actually is a master planter, in my opinion. I'm not going to drop his name. I'm not going to do it just in case it doesn't happen.
Yeah, you gotta
keep it in wraps. But he is incredibly intelligent when it comes to discipleship, outreach, and church planting. And so it'd just be great to pick his brain on the podcast. But it's kind of where we're at. We're part of the podcasting network. We're running things up.
Outro ever.
It is. I'm like, my eyes are getting heavy. It's like getting late.
You normally like play hockey around this time, don't you?
It's Friday, ain't it? Yeah, I do technically. I do play tomorrow night at 9:45. So I didn't get a nap in today. That's the difference. Yeah. I didn't prepare my body for hockey. But friends, thank you for listening. As always, we love you. We're so thankful for your support. Until next time, this is Ryan and Trevor from The Table, a church planting journey. We'll see you next time.
Peace out, guys.